Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your source for esports racing, the Full Velocity Racing Network. We come to you live from beautiful San Bernardino County, California, to bring you live flag-to-flag coverage of the newly formed Bomb Squad Racing Christmas Series, set to do battle for 100 laps around the 2-mile California Speedway tonight. My name is Blake McCandless, and I'm joined along by Jack Truant on the controls, as well as Mr. Too Tall Stanton up here in the booth for what should be both a thrilling night of action on the track, but also, Todd, a couple of fun weeks are in store over here at BSR with the addition of this Christmas series.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun weeks coming up in store here. We got Daytona, Talladega, and also Michigan on the docket, and I cannot wait to see how this series is going to unfold. 5 lucky winners to 5 lucky guys in the point standings going to get some extra cash to boot.
Oh, no doubt about it. It's going to make every race very crucial. You think about it, only a couple of races to get the job done, so these guys going to be on edge tonight in what is the opening race of the 4 races that'll take place in this series. And of course, we'll talk about the upcoming schedule and whatnot later on in the broadcast. Right now, our eyes are tuned to the speed charts as guys are currently taking times for qualifying as the field continues to file through. They have about a minute left in the qualifying session to put down their 2 laps. And right now, at least at the moment, it's Ricky Johnson who has hold of the pole award tonight. But of course, we'll be looking to see the rest of this field put their laps down. Obviously, a good and very stacked field coming out here tonight. I think I counted over 21, maybe 22 guys in TeamSpeak tonight. So no shortage of some great talent as well as a lot of new talent over here at Bomb Squad Racing, and should make for an exciting evening. And Todd, there is one thing that I love to see. It's coming out to these original game tracks because there's a lot of skill involved in getting around these places.
Yeah, there definitely is, and you got to think. You think back to 2003 when this game first came out. Was able to play a little bit on it, and these tracks were rather difficult. And these are actually a skilled track where you have to mind your P's and Q's, your tires, even for that matter. Blake really good at that sort of thing. Where I was good at the game tracks. We used to run a fixed fast setup, and that's all we ran. I mean, back in the day, this is all we had, and it was rather interesting, maybe for some different types of racing. Now this is different though. We have open setups here at California, like we were talking about earlier, Blake. 16 years to make a setup, man. You got to have one lightning rod of a setup there.
That is certainly true. That was one thing we were talking about pre-races, because we're still kind of hearkening back to the old days and keeping with this same track, that any setup you've used in the cup physics portion of this sim is still good to go all these years later, even in a mod that's a little bit updated. But qualifying has concluded as the clock has run out on these drivers making their laps, and it is going to be Ricky Johnson with a 37.367 second lap that is going to be able to hold on and take the fast lap for us tonight, alongside Brandon Hawken, who's going to start to his outside in that first row. He ran a 37.446. But Todd, looking at these times, you can see the spread, and I think that is kind of a representation of these open setups. You have a lot of guys that have put a lot of time and energy into making these setups, and a couple of guys that have raced over at Hobo. I know we've done a lot of Hobo racing. I remember actually looking at the California race there. It's an open setup league, and you see a lot of these names tonight, so it seems like a lot of these guys have a lot of experience when making these setups.
They definitely got to have a lot of experience. Like you said, you hinted on the Hobo guys and those guys doing open setups. You're seeing a lot of those guys actually come on over here and race this series here. And I can't wait to see how these guys have different jucks and jives of their setup and what they've done to make it better throughout the race. I mean, California is becoming fuel mileage track too, so gear ratio has to come into some kind of a factor there too.
No, you're certainly right, and you think about just how wide this track is. The grip is the exact same everywhere, but perhaps there's a little bit that gears can come into play. You think about just being how large this track is, how much banking is in this track, that you would be sticking to fourth gear, but obviously restarts can come into play as well. And while we're talking about that, let's go ahead and give you the track facts for tonight presented by the South Texas Speedway. Obviously, as we just mentioned, 2 miles around the California Speedway tonight, 4 turns that are all banked at 14 degrees. We have an 11-degree front straightaway as well as a 3-degree back straightaway, so relatively flat back there on that long back straightaway here in California. Of course, we're in the first race of the 4 races for the Bomb Squad Racing Christmas Series. The next race taking place in 2 weeks, December the 7th, Saturday night at Daytona International Speedway, followed by Michigan and Talladega, and that's it. So if you're somebody out there who loves racing on these big, wide tracks out here in this old sim, well, this quick hit series is the perfect spot for you to be, especially with cash prizes out in hand for everybody to win. And of course, we look at the weather for tonight. 70 degrees out here, of course, fixed weather, no wind on the track, and of course, we are in open setups. But that's the track facts for tonight, brought to you by the South Texas Speedway. And looking over these guys in happy hour, and Todd, we have a little bit of a longer happy hour tonight, 10 minutes rather than the usual 5 that we're used to. At least the 10 is what is up on the board right now, and you see a couple of these guys making laps, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of these guys also practice getting onto pit road under green flag conditions, because at a track like this, where you're getting off of 4, you carry a lot of speed out of there. It can be really difficult to get on that pit road.
Yeah, one of those things there, Blake, and trying to get down on pit road, you got to remember that apron. You're coming down off the banking, and you got to get it low down. I've had a lot of wrecks here in California, more often than not, just coming down off the banking. Got to make sure where you're going to pit, where your game plan is going to be coming off of turn 4, and getting down to the minimum speed down on pit road, and not make any mistakes. That's going to be a key, especially if we got a lot of green flag racing here tonight. You don't want to make mistakes on pit road, because that could be a difference between a second and 5 seconds out on the track, even 10 seconds sometimes. Costly mistakes on pit road if green flag pit stops do happen, which California normally has those.
Well, I think we're in a good position for it tonight. You think about it, 100 laps set for us tonight, as this series is going to utilize 40% of the length of a cup event, with the exception of the final race of the season at Talladega, which will be a 50% race. So 100 laps around here in California, and it looks like the fuel window for tonight, somewhere around 25 laps. So obviously, if we can get going green for just a little bit, it seems like we're in a really good position to get some of those green flag pit stops and have some of these practice laps that these guys are pulling during happy hour really coming into play later tonight. And kind of looking out over these happy hour times right now, Danny Hardy in the Hardy Chevrolet is atop the board, a 37.677 that he laid down, obviously about 2 or 3 tenths off of what some of these guys are running in the qualifying session. And Todd, I think that this is going to be a really interesting race, because you look at these guys and the times they're running in the draft, they're similar enough that we're going to see a lot of pack racing, but you're also going to have guys that are able to suit the setup to their driving style, maybe save their tires a little bit. So we're going to see a little bit of pack racing, but also just enough separation that the guys that really had their stuff tonight, they're going to be able to shine.
Yeah, they're going to be able to shine, Blake, with just what they have underneath the hood, or in their setup for that matter, as these guys try to navigate and try to get through traffic and try to get through everything they need to. But you're going to see the cream rise to the top towards the end of this race, and the best setup probably going to win this one here tonight, along with good driving. Obviously, you can have the most wonderful setup in the world, and you got to really have a good driver behind the wheel too. And it's going to be interesting with just looking at the happy hour times with a 37.677 with Danny Hardy, and then you look at top qualifying time, 37.367. Also got to remember, though, these qualifying times, their setup's just a tad bit different, maybe a little bit less fuel, maybe a different gear. They're bonsaiing it there with a lot of tape on the front grille, so you're going to see a little bit of a difference, but there's not a huge amount of difference like I thought there would be.
Again, that's something that these guys are going to have to settle out. And, of course, the other thing with open setup racing that comes into play is you get to adjust and make those adjustments throughout a race, much like you would see in real life. So these guys get to see what their car handles like in clean air, in traffic, whether they have a short run car or a long run car. That's kind of the benefit of open setups is you really just get a jack of all trades to see what everybody is capable of. But still about 3 minutes left in the happy hour session. But before we get started tonight, we would like to give you this important message. We would like to remind you that the BSR logo, as well as the Bomb Squad racing name, is owned by BSR Mago. Any unauthorized use of this logo or name without the express written permission of Bomb Squad Racing is prohibited. But we continue to move forward here. 2:20 left on the happy hour clock, and Danny Hardy still the quick time for us right now, 37.677, but just in enough time for us to pay homage to this great country, to honor America and those who protect her with the playing of our national anthem. This broadcast on the Full Velocity Racing Network is brought to you by Trash Panda Graphics, like Stat Wraps, and Full Throttle with the Gent. Just under 30 seconds left to go in happy hour as these guys continue to make final preparations for tonight's 100-lap event to kick off the Bomb Squad Racing Christmas Series over here at BSR. And obviously a great crowd on hand. We want to thank them for trusting us to put on this broadcast for their race, and obviously, we're set for a very good time as this clock continues to wind down. So these guys will start gritting up here in just a moment. And Todd, I don't know about you, but we've had a longer happy hour than I think we're used to, and it's just getting me more amped up. I think I'm just ready to get this over with, ready to drop the green flag in this one.
Yeah, I'm ready to get locked and loaded here for tonight's racing event here in California. I definitely, like you said, long happy hour for us. Not something that we're accustomed to. We went into this thinking maybe 5 minutes, but 10 minutes. I guess we filled the air the best that we could, and we'll just get even better with it now that we know it's 10 minutes long.
Building this suspense. That's at least one thing that is being done here tonight. But why don't we go ahead and take a gander at our Voiles Trucking starting lineup for you tonight. And the guy on the pole, he's running a Voiles Trucking car out there tonight. The 193 Ford driven by Ricky Johnson laid down our fast time, a 37.367 in qualifying. To his outside is going to be the number 99 of Brandon Hawkins. Starting third, we've seen him at Hobo a lot, and competing up front, that's KJ Kilojoules, as well as the 28 Haviline Ford of Keith McLean. Fifth is going to be Danny Hardy. Sixth will be Denny Daniels. Seventh, starting in the number 66, is going to be BSR Terry Scott. Eighth will be Rick Craddock. Ninth is Nelly. And then rounding out the top 10 is going to be BSR Chevy Chase. 11th.
Yeah.
You got it, Todd?
I was going to say, I'll take the second half of the field. 11th going to be BSR Furco. And you got Steve Looney aboard the number 21 in 12th. 13th will be BSR Steven in the 510. Manny Diaz in the number 710. Going to roll off of position number 14. BSR Magoo in the 144. Going to roll off 15th. BSR Brian Voiles in the number 68. Going to roll off 16th. BSR DJ Champ. 17th in the number 91. Brian Wolf in the number 29. Rolling off position 18. Silver Bullet in the number 4. Going to roll off 19th. 22nd second is going to be, I'm going to say 20th, is going to be BSR Brain Fade, and then Monty Keller as the call goes down to start the race cars up down on pit road.
And there you have it, the Voiles Trucking starting lineup for tonight as the most famous words in motorsports ringing over the California Speedway, and the cars finally starting to make their way off the starting grid and onto the racetrack. And obviously we had to make a little bit of an adjustment there at the starting lineup as they have our names listed here in the server. So anytime you see Jack, Todd Stanton, or Blake McCandless scroll across your screen, if it does happen, you can just ignore it. But nevertheless, a good crowd on hand for tonight. Over 20 cars set to try and run after those prizes for a little bit of extra Christmas cash, as the full velocity pace car going down the back straightaway here in California. And Todd, I can't keep saying it. I'm just ready to get this going.
Yeah, I definitely been waiting for this here since we announced coming over here to BSR for the Brian Voiles and talking to him and talking to all these guys here earlier. It was a fantastic night that we had going with these guys. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen here. I tell you, just looking at the field here, man, a guy that's been improved here in the season, NASCAR 2003 community that I think has been well approved. That number 93 up front there, Ricky Johnson, the 193, I should say, that Voiles Trucking 193. He's gotten faster and faster each year I see him on this community.
He certainly has. Well, Todd, it may not be time for Christmas carols just yet, but it's time for some Christmas racing as the iRacingIFlag.com green flag going to be displayed over the California Speedway. And we are live and racing here in the BSR Christmas Series, led to the green flag by none other than that driver you were just talking about, Ricky Johnson, as we head into turn number 1. KJ Kilojoules, he'll look to try and make the move on the inside lane. Brandon Hawken trying to work in that outside already. KJ, though, off the corner, not going to have it on exit. Oh, he's going to clear the 99 as they head on the back straight.
KJ Kilojoules in the 029 machine going to move up into that second spot. Third right now is the number 99 machine, of course, of Brandon Hawken. Hawken pretty much settling into line right now in that third spot. Closing the gap just a tad bit down the front straightaway. You can see the drafting effect come into play, and here comes a high-low switch maneuver for the number 99 of Brandon Hawken. He dives down to the bottom side here to turn.
Well, and actually, he was getting a little bit of help there from Ricky Johnson. Ricky Johnson doing a little bit of mirror driving. He knows how important this draft is on these long straightaways, so he was actually trying to help Brandon Hawken to try to keep the 029 and the 99 side by side. So nice mirror driving there from Ricky Johnson. But don't forget about that guy in fourth in that Hardy's Camaro. He's running strong, and Danny Hardy, we've seen him and know he's capable of running with these guys, and it looks like he's caught on to their draft and is going to try to make this a 4-horse race at the front of the pack.
And Denny Daniels right there, too, running in that fifth spot with BSR Terry Scott and the number 66 machine. Those guys right there, pretty much the field's pretty tight together, besides maybe the top four. And then you got Nelly running in that seventh spot. Rick Craddock aboard number 22. He's running in eighth. BSR Chevy Chase running ninth, and Furco running in the 10th position in that number 19 machine. These guys tight together for California early on the going, but when tires start to wear, you're going to start to see some different challenges for these guys.
One guy that had a little bit of challenge already is the driver that is running in 12th. We just mentioned he started 4th, so on the outside of row number 2, but he is all the way back in the 12th position and in danger of losing the draft of our top 10. That's the 28 of Keith McLean, who from some misfortune looks like he just got a bad restart or maybe popped a gear, maybe got loose. It looks like he just got a little bit loose and got into the outside wall off of our restart. So Keith McLean, a true contender and a guy that we've seen, be able to really dominate some races over at the Hobo Racing League. It looks like he's in trouble tonight because if you don't catch that draft, you're going to be in a really bad spot.
Yeah, definitely a tough break there for Keith McLean. Like you said, you were talking about Hobo. He's won quite a few races over there that we broadcasted here with the Full Velocity Racing Network over the last couple of years. And man, it's tough to see him go down early like that. But hopefully he'll be able to rebound. If he gets a quick yellow flag or something, he may be able to rebound rather quickly in that number 28 machine and maybe make his way back up towards the front of the field. But right now, he's kind of left out to lunch.
He certainly is, but we'll move forward. A side-by-side battle concludes now for what is a battle for the 8th spot. It looks like BSR Chevy Chase going to be able to move his way by Terry Scott in that 66 Toyota. So move that 096 car up to 8th. And Terry Scott back to 9th. For the most part, single file through most of our top 10. You can see them running just above the bottom groove, a little bit in the middle. Even though one car I'm watching, he just got a little squirrely out of turn 2. It was Furco in the 19 Dodge. He had to avoid a Steve Looney that was coming underneath him, and it looks like Furco, he just about looped it, got a little loose there. He'll be a little bit worse for the wear as he'll fall back to the 11th position and might be in danger of losing that draft as well.
Yeah, tough break for Furco. The number 22 I've been watching here, peeking down to the bottom side of the number 37 machine of Denny Daniels. Daniels right now holding a pretty decent line there. The number 37 trying to keep the 22 at bay. Craddock has been peeking down to the bottom. It just doesn't seem he's getting the assistance down towards the bottom there. Nobody really helping him with the draft. He's just trying to pull up alongside of him. And that 37 of Daniels slams that door shut.
It looks like he's running just off the bottom, just enough that Rick Craddock can't exactly put a nose down there and try to get a run, but also high enough that he can get a little bit of a run. Rick Craddock, though, he's going to think better of it. He's going to try to use the banking, go all the way down to the bottom to try and take the advantage away from that draft. He'll have the low side as they head into 1. We'll see here if Craddock able to gas it up center of the corner. Is he going to have the spot? He is. Daniels, it looks like he concedes it to him because he sees Nelly, who wants a piece of it right behind him.
Yeah, Nelly right there holding on to that. Looks like Nelly, the 7th position. So he's definitely looking to try to get around him too, but you don't want to make too many mistakes as it looks like these guys fighting pretty hard here, but they're pretty much back to single file again, Blake. Getting a little bit confused with what's going on here. So used to running controls. Jack doing a fantastic job down there.
Certainly is. We always love to have Jack on board of our crew. But you're right, Todd. Single file through the most part of this field. Really only double file racing I can see right now is back all the way for the 18th position as BSR Magoo, as we were just mentioning, in the Silver Bullet, getting off of turn number 2, and it looks like they're going to be able to complete the pass there as Magoo and his 144 Chevrolet able to make his way by that number 4 machine. But otherwise, these guys obviously know this is a long way to go. Tires matter a lot at these original game tracks, so looking to play it easy and just try to feel out their setup, see what they need in their race cars as we're on lap number 10 of 100 already.
Yeah, lap number 10 of 100, just watching to see what these cars do. Like you said, the 18th position battle going on there. But looking at these guys back here, they had pretty solid qualifying runs. The 68 of Brian Voiles, then you had Braden Fade in the number 49. They won the 44 of BSR Magoo. Those guys are no slouches to this open setup. I wonder if they got something up their sleeve, maybe saving fuel early on the going, or they just know something that some of these other guys don't know. There, Blake, is these guys just riding around. You can see him backing out of the throttle just a tad bit, not really pushing the envelope right now.
I could tell you 2 guys, and you see it right there on your screen, running right there in the 13th and 14th positions respectively. Brian Wolf in the Busch Light Chevrolet, as well as BSR DJ Champ in the 91 STP Dodge. 2 guys that started a little bit in the back of this field. Brian Wolf elected not to take time, and DJ Champ, although he pulled a lap of, if listen for this, Todd, 1 minute and 19 seconds. So not sure how seriously he was taking that qualifying laps, or perhaps he had an issue. But these 2 guys started in the 17th and 18th positions, have slowly worked their way up to 13th and 14th. And you got to think with how difficult it might be to pass here early on, they're trying to catch the draft of these guys that are right ahead of them. It looks like they might be able to do it.
Yeah, I think they really have caught him there. The 29 of Brian Wolf, the Busch sponsor machine. Looks like he's caught the snidbit of the number 19 just a tad bit. Getting into this draft there as they're pulling ever so closer. There is Furco drifting up the track there. Looks like he's developing a push there. The number 19 machine in the center to the off part of the corner. We'll see what Furco's going to have to do to make adjustments to that. But, man, here McLean now looking to the bottom there. The number 28 machine looking to the bottom of the 21 of Steve Looney. As it looks like McLean's starting to get back up and going there. That's going to put him in position number 10.
Yeah, McLean, again, we were talking about him a little bit earlier, a guy that we thought would definitely be a contender, started in the top 5, and unfortunately, unlike Wolf and DJ Champ, who we were just talking about, he's made his way backward through the field, obviously, to look to pick off these guys one by one, but it's going to be really tough without a whole pack of cards to draft with. For comparison, Keith McLean just went by that last time, and he lost half a second to this pack that is running up in the top of this field that's now dwindled out to about a 7-car pack. So it just tells you how important the draft is, because with McLean, you only have about 4 cars in that pack right now, and you just lose so much time with each car that you don't have there to draft off of.
Yeah, it's now the 19 looking to the bottom there of the 21 of Steve Looney, the 19 being driven by Furco, who I thought was getting tight. Looks like he's made an adjustment there in his driving style as he was able to get down below the 21 of Steve Looney. But Looney able to keep him at bay. Here comes Brian Wolf in that Busch number 29 machine. He's down to the bottom.
And Wolf looking to continue his charge through this field as he's going to try to make his way by an ailing 19 Dodge of Furco. Wolf has the advantage off the corner, but Furco, there you see it, the draft comes into play as they head into 3 and 4, but it looks like it's just going to be too much as that Busch Light Chevy just looks like it's working a little bit better than Furco right now. Will Furco try the crossover? It looks like he will elect not to do so. Wolf going to look to try and now run down Looney and a couple of those cars in front of him, so move Brian Wolf up to position 12 as he's working his way back up through the field.
As DJ Champ trying to follow suit too, trying to get it by Furco. Furco up to the top, he rolls over and lets the number 91 by. BSR DJ Champ now moves up into the 11th or 12th position, I should say. In the number 91, it should say 13th position, excuse me, in the number 91, as everything keeps switching back and forth there. But now he drifts up the track, leaves the door open again for the number 19 of Furco. Furco using that draft to his advantage, but he's going to have the door slammed shut, the run gone, extinguished aboard the number 19 machine. We'll see if he's going to get it gathered up, back up, and going. But meanwhile, up front, it's been all Ricky Johnson here tonight.
Yes, it has. I was about to say, let's not totally ignore these guys up front. We want to bring you the great racing that's happening all over this speedway, and it is starting to get a little bit dicey up here as KJ Kilojoules made his move by Brandon Hawken for that second position and is obviously eyeing that 193 Voiles Trucking Ford that has led all 17 laps so far tonight, as Ricky Johnson trying to hold pace to this field. And I think these guys really starting to kind of feel that wear on their tires. These guys can go about 25 laps on fuel. Whether they accelerated the fuel and the tire wear or not is yet to be seen, but it looks like we're going to have a change for the lead as KJ looks like he has a long run speed to go out and contend. Ricky Johnson will surrender the lead, so move the 029 up to the top of the board here in California.
Getting Kilojoules up to the top spot, getting around Ricky Johnson in the Voiles Trucking 193 machine. Third still is the number 99 of Brandon Hawken. Hawken lurking in the shadows right there as he's able to close the gap on the 193 of Johnson. We'll see if he's going to be able to get down to the bottom. He dips his nose down there as the number 193 of Johnson slams the door shut there just one last time because he wants to go for the back for that race lead with KJ Kilojoules down the back straightaway. Pulls up alongside of him down here into turn number 3.
And there you see Brandon Hawken trying to direct the battle in front of him. He got behind the 193 of Johnson on the back straightaway to try to give him a little push. And now Hawken going to have a run off the corner. What's he going to do with it? He's going to suck right up to the bumper, the 193. KJ Kilojoules will have it at the stripe, but you can see Hawken trying to keep them side by side by helping out Ricky Johnson. And of course, if you're Hawken, you're just hoping these guys run their tires off and then you can just go right back and pass them. But Todd, I think this is going to show us Ricky Johnson completes the pass for the lead to take it over once again. Now, KJ, is he going to peek his nose under there? Yes, indeed he is. Side by side once again as they head into 3 and 4. Hawken and now Hardy and Craddock are starting to catch up to these guys as they're starting to race very hard up here at the front. Johnson's going to get a little tight. He's in the wall. Now move Hawken up to the top side trying to take the lead.
Yeah, Brandon Hawken moves immediately up to the top shelf of the speedway, trying to get around the 029 of Kilojoules. A nice side-by-side battle. Can he do the power move to the outside? Craddock coming too. That number 22 machine, he's peeking down to the bottom. He's trying to take over third. The door slams shut, though, on the number 99 of Hawkins, but I'm sure he's going to rally back and try to get back by the 029 machine.
He certainly is. It looks like it's just hard to be up front with how important the draft is. It's going to be really difficult to not only get the lead, but hold it and try and pull away. We'll see Hawkins. He gets a little bit higher off the exit of corner 4, but Hawkins, as we're accustomed to seeing, not somebody that's going to push the issue too much early on in a race. I've had the pleasure of racing with Brandon Hawkins a lot over the past year, and if there's one thing about Hawkins, he's going to bide his time, but he's not going to be aggressive until it really matters. He's obviously going to try and save his tires a little bit, but is one of the cleanest guys out there that you can race with.
Yeah, definitely. Brandon Hawkins, seen him win a couple of races here on the Full Velocity Racing Network. He does know how to save some tires. He does know how to get the max out of that car. I've seen him run right to the limits there and able to knock down the wall towards the end of it and win a race here on the Full Velocity Racing Network. But Brandon Hawkins, definitely no slouch in that number 99.
He's certainly not, but he doesn't have many slouches behind him as Danny Hardy took advantage of those guys running up front, battling each other hard. He's now in the 3rd position. Move Rick Craddock up into the top 5 to position number 4. And then obviously you have Ricky Johnson, who after holding the lead for about the first 18 laps of this event is now riding by, still in the draft, but in that 5th spot. And I think now you have to start to look forward to green flag pit stops, and saw a little bit of smoke here on the front straightaway. No yellow being displayed right now, but I did think somebody took a little bit of a dip around. I think it was Manny Diaz in that 710 because he was awfully slow that last time by. He only ran a 43-second lap, and he's out here on the back straightaway, and it looks like he may even have a flat tire as he's trying to just windle it home, and I think he's going to come down pit road this time.
Yeah, Manny Diaz, definitely a tough break for the driver of the number 710 machine. Looks like he is indeed, like you said, Blake, going to come down on pit road. He's really slowing up there to get down off the bank. He come to the aid of his pit crew, like you said. Looks like a right front flat or something in that nature. Might even be a right rear flat there aboard the 710, but going to lose precious time down there on pit road is Manny Diaz in that 710 machine.
He is, and you have to remember this is a game track, and it kind of lends itself to if you lose control or spin out, there's not a whole lot of forgiveness when you lock up those tires. Those tires are going to wear a ton when you lock them up, as the way it should be. So obviously, if you are looping it around and you're going to keep going green, well, there's a good chance that if you didn't blow a tire, you're not far away from it. So, but it looks like a lot of these guys going to start making their way onto pit road for green flag pit stops. KJ Kilojoules will throw it down off of turn 4, as well as Danny Hardy. Denny Daniels right behind him, so it looks like we're at the beginning of these green flag pit cycles.
Definitely at the beginning. I'm going to follow KJ Kilojoules down to the aid of his pit crew. See if he's going to take 2 tires, 4 tires, no tires. I'm willing to bet they'll probably take 4 tires on the 29 machine. I don't think there's anything that they're going to gamble on right now. You might see some of the back markers do that, but the service going up on the number 29 machine. Right side tire is going on, complete. They're going to move on over. See, they're going to wipe the front end of the car off, go over to the left side. So 4 tires to call for the 029 of Kilojoules as he's down and away.
And I have something to report with the leaders that elected to stay out. They obviously came back in this time. That's Brandon Hawkins, Ricky Johnson, Rick Craddock, to name a couple of them. Ricky Johnson, you have to think, he was out front for a good portion of this run. He was clutching on the back straightaway during that lap around, that extra lap around that he went versus some of our other leaders that pitted, and he's actually going to clutch it into his pit stall. So that tells you that Johnson about ran it out of fuel because of being up front, being in the lead. So I think 25 laps, that fuel window, that's pretty much certain right there. Can probably go a little bit further in the draft, but if you're in that lead, it's about 25, and that's about it.
Yeah, you definitely, when you're piercing the air all by yourself, you're up front, you're definitely going to burn a lot more fuel there. That's unfortunately what happened to him there. And as he tries to make it back up through, we'll see if Ricky Johnson changes anything in his setup. But I think his set was perfectly fine. I think just the flirtation with the wall there is what dropped him back to the fifth spot. But as we rotate through, you're saying field mileage. These guys are already thinking about that in the backside of their head.
They certainly are, and as we cycle through these pit stops, it looks like KJ Killajoule is going to resume the lead, but a couple of cars are going to be cut out of this lead pack potentially. You get to look and really see how much green flag pit stops matter. KJ Killjoules and Hardy got their stops to work and also utilized that extra lap of fresh tires to make a little bit of gap on this field. Right now, Denny Daniels is right behind them in third. Brandon Hawken trying desperately, and it looks like he's going to do so successfully, to chase these guys down on the backstretch and try to hang on to this top three for their draft, because you have to think, once he catches these guys, he has a whole lap of fresher tires, but it looks like that's going to be it, as Ricky Johnson, something obviously went amiss on pit road, and he was clutching on the back straightaway, so he obviously lost some time, and because of that, he's going to lose this draft and just have Nelly behind him.
And watching the 19 come back through, looks like a pass-through penalty for Furkill. I didn't see him get any service. Coming back down onto Bill Road. He's back out on the speedway, but he's going to go a lap down in that number 19 machine.
And actually, the caution flag is going to be displayed. The Hanover Wrecker Service yellow flag on display for the first time tonight. And I believe, Todd, it's going to be Keith McLean. He's a name we've heard of a lot today, but it looks like he took a little bit of a selfie off of corner number 4 and through the infield grass, and that is what is going to bring out caution flag for the first time tonight. So get out the selfie stick, fellas. Keith McLean, not the way he wanted to be mentioned in the broadcast tonight, I'm sure. Again, he takes a selfie here down on the front straightaway, and that's going to be our first caution here on lap 30.
Definitely watching the number 28 equipment failure is what we heard there on his machine. The number 28 machine going around all by a selfie, and like you said, like he's just it's one of those things that happened there. He got snap happy off the corner, and just around he goes, doing a little bit of a pirouette dance down there, circular motions as he goes down through the infield into the grass or across the old NASCAR Winston Series logo, and gets it back going. But you got to imagine he's got flat spotted tires. He's going to have to probably come down onto pit road to get all that service out.
He certainly is, and unfortunately for some of these guys, or fortunately for some of these guys, rather, they get to catch back up to this lead pack. Guys like Ricky Johnson that we're going to keep falling and falling and falling further away from this lead pack. They're going to be benefited by getting this yellow, being able to catch back up to this draft. And Todd, I think you see how important tires are. Tons of people, pretty much everyone in this field coming down pit road to get 4 fresh tires. And you have to think they were only out there for at the most about 3 or 4 laps. So looks like tires here at this original game track are really important here.
Well, how many of these guys, Blake, do you think will take only 2 tires to try to get the track position, the one up on those guys, since they only have 3 or 4 laps on their tires?
That's a really good point, Todd. I think we may see that a little bit, but as I'm looking through, look at Todd being correct. It's Denny Daniels. He already had some great track position. He's going to take 2 tires and resume the lead off of pit road, as well as Rick Craddock. And I believe those are the only 2 guys. As Danny Hardy comes out third, he took 4 tires and had a pit stall that was towards the front of pit road. So there you go, Todd. 2 guys that had decent track position, but they want it to be just a little bit better. They think that those left sides didn't get too worn in those 3 or 4 laps, so they'll get the track position. And Denny Daniels, once we cycle back through, will resume the lead. So good call there, Todd.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I think of when I come down on pit road is, what is everybody else going to do? What can I do to gain that track position? And 2 tires would have been a type of call that I do. It's early in the race, so if you make a mistake, and you really find out what those 2 tires are going to do for you right now. You make a mistake early in the race, maybe catch a late race yellow, you're going to be like, man, I can't do that again. I really sucked on those tires. Even though they were 3 or 4 laps old, I went backwards. Or you could be out there and running still pretty good there with the 3 or 4 lap old tires. So I guess it's feast or famine with that type of decision, and we'll just have to see how it all plays out here on the Full Velocity Racing Network.
We certainly will, Todd. And again, that's such a great point. I can name probably 10 times I did that over races just over this calendar year that you take 2 tires and you're exactly right. You're kind of a, a lab rat for the rest of the field, I think is a good way to describe it, because if it works, everybody else is going to pick up on that, and they're thinking later in the race, hey, maybe I'll take 2 tires in a certain situation. But obviously, if Daniels and Craddock drop like an anchor here and go to the back of the pack, I don't think you're going to be seeing too many guys take 2 tires the rest of the way here. But nevertheless, might work out for them. Only a couple of laps on these tires as these guys cycled completely through green flag pit stops, and then Keith McLean, as you saw on our BladeNode.com instant replay, got a little bit loose off of turn number 4, brought out our first Hanover Wrecker Service yellow flag of the evening, and Todd, I think it's a good shout out for these guys being able to go all the way through green flag stops and cycle through everything with how much these guys are kind of balancing loose race cars. It's open setup, and obviously you have to be loose to go fast, and these guys were handling that and able to come out on top and still put on some good racing for us. There's a lot of great racing, not only at the front of the field like we saw, but we had some good battles that we featured in the rear of the field as well.
That's the thing here with open setup. You can create those great battles going on throughout the field. It doesn't matter what position you're in. We were seeing some good side-by-side racing there over that long green flag run, and then they kind of settled in, and they went right back at it. So, again, a yellow flag out there on the speedway, still pacing out there behind the Full Velocity Racing Network pace car. Cannot say enough here. So the guys over here at Bomb Squad Racing for having the Full Velocity Racing Network aboard here, allowing Blake and myself to come over and broadcast. Jack, pushing the controls, and some nights you're going to see Phil over here, whether it's Phil and Blake or Phil and Todd, or maybe even all 3 of us in the booth one night. That would be rather interesting.
It certainly will be, but again, very appreciative for the opportunity to come out here and broadcast this race. We know it'll be a great one, and we're privileged to be able to put it on the air for us tonight. But let's go ahead and get you set up for this next restart, as we'll be a third of the way through when we take the green flag in this one. Denny Daniels, he'll restart first. Rick Craddock is in second. Danny Hardy's running third. KJ Kilojoules is in fourth. Brandon Hawk in fifth. Ricky Johnson sixth. BSR Chevy Chase in seventh. Nelly in eighth. Terry Scott in ninth. And then BSR Brain Fade in 10th. Brian Voiles is in 11th. DJ Champ, he's running in 12th. Steve Looney, 13th. BSR Steven in 14th. BSR Magoo in 15th. Keith McLean, 16th. Brian Wolf, after pitting on the one to go here, he will restart in 17th. Silver Bullet, he scored 1 lap down in 18th. Manny Diaz, also a lap down in 19th. And then the 19 of BSR Furco is also a lap down in 20th. So those 3 guys, Silver Bullet, Manny Diaz, and BSR Furco, going to have an interesting race here to try and get that lucky dog if they're lucky enough to get a quick yellow here. But that is how we will line up for our second display of the iRacing iFlag.com green flag here as we come off of turn number 4. The field in control of the 37 Toyota of Denny Daniels as he'll approach the front straightaway here. He'll put the throttle down, green flag, and we're back racing here on FVRN.
Yep, back racing with Denny Daniels drifting up the track here to block Craddock. As Craddock was up on the top shelf of the speedway, here comes the 03 of Hardy, excuse me. Down to the bottom as Daniels playing the drafting effect from the bottom from the top to the bottom there, and in front of Danny Hardy in the 03 machine, but he drops back into line. We'll see what he's going to be able to do. Here comes Brandon Hawk in there. And the number 99 as he peeks down to the bottom side here. Again, we are on lap 34 of 100. Ticker not working out there. We do realize that's not happening out there in Facebook or YouTube Live. Ticker not working as far as the lap counter. But it looks like the ticker working just fine here, so hopefully everything gets back up and going. Jack had a little bit of a technical difficulty here with the stream. It happens every once in a while.
Now, don't worry out there, folks. We'll put that little tidbit in our back pocket, and we'll make sure to bring you the lap counter throughout the rest of this event as we continue to move forward. These guys really loose on this first lap, cold tires, and I think you saw it no better represented than Danny Hardy right there, who eventually made his way to third, but got a little bit squirrely there on that restart, and right now these guys trying to do their best, especially here in the top 10, to hold on to this draft. It looks like 13 cars looks like they're able to hang on right now as Brian Wolf, the very tail end of that 13-car pack, he just ran his fastest lap time of the evening, a 37.937 as his fastest lap that he just ran for the entire race. And I think that's these guys that are barely hanging on to the draft, they have to run their tires off, because if they lose that draft, well, they're just going to completely fall out and probably go a lap down.
Yeah, definitely is a battle for the race lead now, Blake, as we were talking about that. The 22 of Craddock now to the race lead as he bustles the number 37, Denny Daniels, up and out of the way. Daniels now drifted into that second spot. Danny Hardy running in that third spot. Now he's looking for a way around, but Denny Daniels definitely starting to push there in the middle portion of the corner, and the gamble may have paid off here for a little bit, but I don't know how long he's going to be able to hold on to that second spot. Looks like tires definitely a factor here.
It certainly looks like it. Maybe they're just trying to hang on and hope that if we do get some green flag pit stops, they'd be able to hang on or just get a quick yellow, and most of the field would come down pit road now. But there you see it, 4 fresh tires up to second place, and that Hardy Chevrolet looking to eye the top spot as Danny Hardy moves up to second. KJ right behind him, as well as Brandon Hawken will take advantage. So move Denny Daniels back to fifth. He's continuing to slide back as he gets a little loose there on the high side. So move him all the way back into the 6th position. He was 4th at the stripe. And, you know, I think there's Chevy Chase right behind him. He wants a part of this top 6.
Yeah, definitely Chevy Chase looking low, looking high, trying to get around the number 37 of Daniels. Daniels right now struggling just a tad bit there with those 2 tires. As you're looking in front of him, you got the 193 machine of Ricky Johnson. Is Johnson trying to make his way up through the field too? But Brandon Hawken definitely. We were talking about Brandon Hawken earlier. He's the fastest car. He has been the fastest car all evening, the fastest time, I should say, all evening long so far here. Is that we are 40 laps in here this time by. So we're going to have 60 laps remaining. So these guys, just looking at the fast times here, Brandon Hawken, then you got Craddock, the number 22. Then you got Denny Daniels there, third quickest here tonight. But again, that's a quick lap time. You really got to string the consistent laps together in order to be leading this the front of the field here. And right now, the 22 of Craddock has the most consistency, and he's your race leader.
He certainly does, but Todd, I'm looking throughout this field, and the parity, trouble in turn number 1. Brian Voiles is in the outside wall. A little bit of contact here on the exit of corner number 2. He's involved. There's another car sliding down the back straightaway and into the inside portion of this racetrack. It's DJ Champ, who takes a little bit of a spin there on the inside, but it looks like the one who is the loser in this is the driver of that Arkansas Razorbacks Ford Fusion, as Brian Voiles, after a little bit of contact there in turn 2, looks like he had a little bit of contact with the outside wall, a little bit of damage on the left side. And I think actually this is just going to be a self-spin, but we'll get another look at it as we head into the BladeNode.com instant replay. Todd, why don't you show us what happened here?
Well, taking a look here, and I thought it was a self-spin to begin with, but it is not there. The 68 of Voiles had a little bit of help from the rear deck lid there. The number 29 machine of Brian Wolf gets into the back of him just a tad bit, but it looks like Wolf having a little bit of connection issue over there as you see him jut side to side, at least on my screen. I don't know if you can see it here on the replay, but he juts a little bit side to side, and that's what gets the 68 of Brian Voiles, unfortunately, around. The 91 machine also around there, spinning down through the grass there. The 91 being driven by, and we're going to take a look real quick here, BSR DJ Champ. He spun to avoid everything that was going on there. So it's definitely different, but it looked like a little bit of contact between Wolf and Voiles. Voiles gets the short end of the stick.
Voiles does get the short end. It looked like Wolf, he was rallying through the field. Looks like he found some speed, especially on that last pit stop in that Busch Light Chevrolet, as he was looking to eye his way into the top 10. But it looks like an aggressive gas pedal, as well as a little bit of a connection issue that you pointed out, Todd, that looks like that's what'll initiate that contact with Brian Boyle. And it looks like Boyle the only one to get damage out of this. DJ Champ did spin to the inside, but didn't hit anything. Looks like he'll be good to go in that STP Dodge. But right now, every single driver, as we're looking up and down pit road, electing to come down, except for Brian Wolf, who will stay out. But looks like everybody else coming down, and it looks like 4 tires is going to be the call through pretty much everybody else.
Yeah, I didn't see no 2 tire takers this time. I think they may have learned their lesson there. No 2 tires this time around. 4 tires to call up and down through pit road. The guy that won the pit road race was the 029 of KJ Kilojoules aboard the 029 machine, as he won the race off with a great pit stop. Second off will be the 03 machine of Danny Hardy. Then you go back here to Ricky Johnson, who was third quick off the pit road.
And so these guys getting the job done on pit road, and you have to think about, the pit stall selection too, that guys like Ricky Johnson and Brandon Hawken, because they start on that front row, they have a little bit of an advantage here pitting under caution with, just being able to pit in those front 2 stalls, not have to go as long to the exit of pit road. But nevertheless, KJ Kilojoules, who started third and has that third pit stall, he's able to work his way past and go to the lead. It looks like Denny Daniels and the 22 of Rich Craddock. That's the unfortunate thing about taking tires or taking 2 tires early on, is that eventually you got to put some fresh ones on that left side, and it looks like Rick Craddock had to do that as well as Daniels. Daniels still able to stay in that top 5, and Craddock, it looks like he'll restart in the 8th position, so didn't lose too much time. But I think that's something these guys are going to put in the back of their minds a little bit later, Todd, that 2 tires, we saw it work for Craddock. We saw Daniel struggle with it a little bit. So I think that still opens the window for some of these guys to want to try to do it later on in the race.
I definitely have to echo that sentiment there, Blake. Just watching what these guys are going to do. And I mean, they gamble with the 2 tires here early, and like I said, it's a good time to do it because there was so many more laps left. Right now, we're coming up on halfway home here rather quickly. 7 laps till we hit that 50-lap mark. But taking 4 tires probably the best bet right now to watch these guys come through the field and see what happens here with everybody on the same type of strategy.
Well, everybody's on the same strategy as far as when they pit, but I think a couple of drivers started to think outside the box a little bit. And I know if I was a driver and I was listening to this broadcast right now and somebody pointed out that I was doing this, I would hate them and not be a big fan. But I do have to point out that there are some drivers out here clutching because we're so close on fuel. You just never know. You can hear Danny Hardy and KJ Kilojoules. Actually, you can't hear them as they're here on the front straightaway because they're pushing in that clutch pedal. They're looking at their fuel gauges right now, trying to do a little bit of calculating, do some math, and see how much they can save. You had to think we could go about 25 or 26 laps that last time by on that green flag stop. It probably increases by a lap or 2 if you're running in the draft. So these guys looking at how many laps will be remaining, it'll be just about 55 laps. So if you can save 2 or 3 laps per run, you might be in a good position. Surprised that nobody came down pit road and tried to top off there other than the 4 car.
Yeah, definitely. That's something you normally see. The guys come down on pit road. You don't necessarily burn a lot of gas, but every little ounce could help you win this race, and you're saving fuel. You don't want to be the race leader if you're going to start saving fuel because you're going to have to pull the train behind you around, and that's not what you want to do. You probably want to tuck in behind somebody, sit there and ride, roll out of the throttle, keep the draft, and just do it that way, because if you're out front here, you're definitely wasting a heck of a lot more gas.
Well, I mean, it kind of reminds me of a situation we had with our good friend Phil Lacasse a couple of weeks ago at Talladega when, we had a restart. Everybody knew it was going to be close on fuel, and probably not by his own choice, I basically pushed Phil to the front and forced him to go out front because I was like, hey, Phil, haven't won a race this year, probably haven't won a race in a lot longer of a time than that. Let's go ahead and push you out front. That way, if there is a yellow, you'll be out front and you may have a chance to win this thing. So, unfortunately, the strategy didn't work out, but obviously, if you're KJ or Danny Hardy, you almost just want to pack in and ride around in second because we've seen how important that draft is with Johnson. He wasn't able to make it near as long as these other guys on that last stop, but we'll talk about that as this run goes on. The iRacing iFlag DaytonaNightTR.com green flag displayed once again as KJ, what a restart that he gets as he rockets out to the front and allows Brandon Hawken and Danny Hardy to try to be side by side for second place. Hardy getting a little bit squirrely up here. Johnson, he gets a run off of 2.
Yeah, I thought Hardy, that was going to be a 3 wide there, battle for the second on back, and Hardy able to back out of the 193. Ricky Johnson running in that 4 spot. Fifth right now on the grid is the number 37 machine of Denny Daniels. So Daniels not going away there as he's peeking to the bottom here, peeking to the top, trying to find which person he's going to draft with. Looks like this time he's going to go with Ricky Johnson aboard the 193 machine. Meanwhile, up front, Hawkins looked a couple different times down to the bottom of Killer Jules, but Jules able to hold on also.
Yes, he is, and very interesting to see the strategy here as Hardy looks like he's just going to flat out give that 3rd spot to Ricky Johnson. He'll tuck in line. Hawking going to use all that draft and momentum on the high side. It's going to be another lead change as he'll go by and take the lead in this first Christmas series race here at Bomb Squad Racing. And it looks like he has some momentum. KJ, I think he heard us talking, Todd, because he went from the lead all the way back to 3rd in 1 lap, and I don't think that's because something's amiss on that Corvette of his.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something you want to see here, especially since we're not quite halfway home, and you're going to have to, the key word is adjustments. You're going to have to keep adjusting your car to the track. The track's going to change. The track's going to rubber up. Different things are going to happen here, or where they're going to start slip sliding around. And again, it's one of those things where you want to go fast, but I would be backing off. The racer in me wants to go out and win this darn thing, but you got to back off and be conservative here. Try to save your tires. Try to save as much fuel as you can. Get yourself off the same strategy as everybody else, because you don't want to be on the same strategy. It makes it way easier to be on your own type of strategy, but you got to really mind your P's and Q's and save some fuel.
You do, but you also have to keep in mind that these guys' efforts may be in vain, as, again, we mentioned we restarted on lap 45 with 55 to go, so we'd have to go about 2 or 3 laps past where we went on this first round of green flag pit stops for these guys to make it. You'd have to save 2 or 3 laps each run, which, you think about a 2-mile track here at California, that's much easier said than done, but the best racing right now going on for around that 5th and 6th position. BSR Chevy Chase looked like he peeked to the outside to try and get a run on Denny Daniels on the high side on the straightaway. An interesting move there from that Valvoline Camaro. Not able to work it, though. He has to tuck back in line as he thought better of it. But I love that move from Chevy Chase, and it's one I've utilized a lot of times. If the high line at a place like this, when you need all that draft down the straightaway, you can kind of fake guys out, make them think that you're going to the low side. Maybe they fall asleep a little bit, and then just all of a sudden out of nowhere, you try to go to the high side and take that draft and kind of just pinch them down in the corner. That was almost a smart move by Chevy Chase, but thought better of it, didn't want to get his nose cut off, and he just kind of lifted out of it here with, we're not even halfway done yet.
Yeah, as you're watching Chevy Chase, now back down to the bottom there of the number 37 of Denny Daniels, but Daniels able to keep him at bay there as Chase keeps peeking to the bottom, and now here comes Daniels to the outside of Hardy. Hardy right now holding on to the 4th spot as Daniels looking for any way around that 03 machine.
He certainly is. You can see him right now just kind of darting on the straightaway, looking if there's anywhere that he can get a nose of that Toyota to get under Danny Hardy. But that's the one thing. These guys know how to drive and drive defensively and offensively. Right now, Hardy just riding in line and kind of cutting down his entry into the corner, starting up top and cutting down to make it hard for Daniels to try to get a run. The thing that's so hard about passing here is if you're in Daniels' position, you can get a run off the corner here, and I believe Daniels may do so, but if you peek that nose to the inside and can't clear Hardy into one, it's really all for naught because of how powerful that draft is on the high side.
And it's definitely another thing you got to think about there, Blake, is when he's going to the high side, he's peeking down to the bottom, using that momentum. He's leaving the door wide open for the 096's Chase. Chevy Chase to hook a lock onto that draft and be able to slingshot by him because they're going to have no help on the bottom.
He's certainly not, unless somebody in front of him maybe wants to work with him. That's really the only hope that you have. But we were talking about earlier the packs forming in this field, and right now it looks like about a 10-car pack is what we have up here up front. Obviously led by Brandon Hawken, who still leads this race. Ricky Johnson, KJ in third, Danny Hardy fourth, Denny Daniels in fifth, BSR Chevy Chase in sixth, Rick Craddock seventh, Nelly in eighth, and then you look all the way back to ninth, and Brain Fade out there is kind of the one guy that is trying his best to hang on, and you really can't fall more than a second behind, and unfortunately for him, he's about 8/10 off of that lead pack, so he's either got to catch them now or they're going to be long gone.
Yeah, definitely want to catch them here as I'm trying to get my voice situated here. Not sure why I got the frog in my throat here tonight. To get good old lovely upstate New York weather. I'm going to tell you, it's 42 degrees yesterday. Now it's down to 20-some degrees. It probably feels like -10 outside right now. That is one thing I do not like about upstate New York. Love the racing up here. There's tons of racing going on, but man, the older I get, the more I dread winter, and I want to move down south, Blake.
Well, I'm not going to complain about North Carolina winter to a guy that's living in, in New York, because that's just a losing argument. But it's not like it's not Florida weather down here in the winter. We still had about a 40-degree day today. Obviously, we don't get down in the 20s and in the teens near as often or have as much snow. But it's not entirely great. But I'm sure those summers up there in New York are not exactly 95 and 100 and humidity and all that.
No, definitely. The summer's usually a lot better. Again, but you're comparing that, just like open setups versus fixed setups. I mean, you're comparing different things, and like your cold weather is a little bit different than our cold weather up here. It could be nastier to you, feel nastier down there. Then I could go down there and wear shorts, and you're wearing a hoodie.
Always finding a way to tie it back to racing here on the Full Velocity Racing Network, but we'll have to put that conversation on hold as the yellow flag came out, and I believe it's for debris that came off of a mechanical failure out here in turns 3 and 4, as there was one car that went up in smoke and spun themselves out trying to get off track. That caution flag was not brought out because of any wreck. It was definitely because of some leakage or debris that was a result of an engine failure. And unfortunately for the fans of BSR Steven out there in the 510 Ford, they're not going to like the news, as not only has he blown up, but he has already decided to pull it behind the wall and retire from this event. So tough luck there for BSR Steven, as I don't know what happened, whether he overheated or whether it's just one of them random failures you can do nothing about. But unfortunately for Steven, it will end his night here at the California Speedway, and that's going to be our third Hanover Wrecker Service yellow flag of the evening.
And you're looking at the 510 BSR Stevens, and you look now he can go it's actually Miller time for him now. He can go to the trailer, have a Miller, have a beer, and watch the rest of the race here on Full Velocity Racing Network, or even an admin, or watch the race right from directly where he's at, enjoying a favorite ice cold beverage that he has. But it's definitely a tough break there for the 510 machine, Steven. Not probably how he wanted to end it. It looked like one of those mechanical failures that just come awry. It doesn't really say anything besides accident. You get a piston, a clutch, something going awry, but accident. He really didn't hit nothing. So I'm kind of clueless about that one.
Yeah, sometimes you just have no control over what happens, and it's just that. Kind of changes things up here, though, at the front of the field. We were talking about that Brandon Hawken probably not saving fuel up there where he is. Well, now he's kind of having the last laugh, as fuel mileage pretty much out the window at this point. This field can make it on one more stop, so a good decision by Hawken to try to get that track position and lead. He'll try to get it once again, as most of this field coming down in. We'll see if anybody elects to take 2 Goodyear tires versus 4, and it looks like left sides are up in unison here on pit road. 4 tires across the board. The race off pit road is going to be won by that first pit stall, Ricky Johnson, and that's why you put in all that extra time on that qualifying setup and trying to make these hot laps in practice, because that's when it pays off. Ricky Johnson and Brandon Hawken, similar pit times for their pit crews, but that first pit stall, it cuts out so much time on your exit. And for the Voiles Trucking Ford, he'll be able to restart up front.
Yeah, he's going to restart up front, and it's one of those things that the first pit stall, being able to get out there, like you said, Ricky Johnson has that, and he definitely had a good pit stop. He nailed his marks, didn't roll forward, didn't make any type of mistakes getting through his pit box. It all comes into a factor here where you can lose some spots, but Ricky Johnson going to, I believe, when everything comes said and done, he's going to assume the race lead right now. The 144 of BSR Magoo is your race leader. So getting the lap led there, that good old number 144 machine. The 710 of Manny Diaz was right there in that second spot. Those guys both going to relinquish those top two spots, come down to pit road to service in the aid of their pickers. They almost guarantee 4 tires will be the call for those guys. Sunoco Racing Field, and they'll be down in the way. But that it gives the lead now to the 193 machine of Ricky Johnson, the Voiles Trucking, number 193. Second going to be Brandon Hawkins in that number 99 machine. Kilojoules, KJ running in that third spot. Fourth, Danny Hardy. And you got Denny Daniels in the number 37 machine running fifth. Sixth is going to be the 096 of BSR Chevy Chase. Seventh right now on the field should be Rick Craddock. Then you got Nelly in the number 103 running eighth, and 10th. BSR Brain Fade. So those guys in the top 10, it looks like it's changed just a tad bit. Not a whole heck of a lot as they come down on the pit road. Some of the battles won and lost in pit road, but not a lot changing amongst the top 10.
No, certainly not. But you have to think guys like BSR Magoo, and I believe Brian Wolf pulled the same thing earlier, trying to stay a lap past and lead that extra lap. You have to think about this is only a 4-race series, so you really don't have a lot of time to get things done. You pretty much have to be on the top of your game every single time you come out here. And why not get some bonus points by leading laps if you can, because you just never know in a 4-race season. It's one thing to, think about a 35 or 36 race season and points and being consistent and all that, but you really need every single point you can in only a 4-race dash of a series. So you got to think about guys like Brian Wolf, guys like BSR Magoo. You just never know what's going to make a difference. And, when they're paying out the top 5 spots, maybe, 20 or 15 points from leading laps under caution, maybe that makes the difference between, having some extra Christmas cash or having nothing to bring home at all.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. I believe it's $100 to the champion and a trophy here tonight, or not tonight, I should say, for the series. The extra Christmas cash given 5 families, as Brian Voiles would put it, given 5 families a little bit of extra dough for the Christmas season. We know that can be rather difficult for some people out there during the Christmas season. It's definitely a struggle. It's $100 in a plaque for first place. Second place is $75. Third, fourth, and fifth, $50. So a lot of money being put out there for the top 5. Definitely something that we're interested in watching to see who's going to take that down. If you miss a race, are you going to actually be involved, be able to get into the top 5? I know a couple of drivers were interested in being here tonight, not making the call here tonight, so we'll see if they'll make it. Next week being Daytona, or I should say 2 weeks from now, it'll be December 7th. It's going to be DaytonaNightTR. So that's going to be interesting. Drafting going to play a key role into that one too, Blake. Then you go on to Michigan in the final race at Talladega. A 50% race on December 21st. So quite the road here, and definitely a chess match there coming up here with the definitely the super speedways. You never know who's going to win that. Anybody can.
Well, and that's one thing for these guys that maybe think they have some good setups at, some of these big tracks like California and Michigan. If you have good setups, this is where you need to shine because, like you said, those super speedways can really be wild cards. So you just have no clue how those races are going to play out. If you think that, maybe you have an advantage, whether it be, in your setup or just, general driver skill, this is the 2 races that you have to execute here and at Michigan. We'll talk about that later. The iRacing iFlag.com green flag being displayed once again, and nearly neck and neck in the line is Ricky Johnson and Brandon Hawkins. Kilojoules gets a great restart. Are they going to make it 3 wide here into 1? They'll think better of it. Johnson will go low. KJ will tuck in line. And Hawkins trying to make it work on the high side. Will he try the crossover here on the back straightaway? Gets in the draft, and it looks like he's just going to tuck in line and ride for now.
Yeah, it reminded me just a tad bit as Hawkett was going back and forth there on the rear bumper of the 193 of Ricky Johnson. It reminded me of the Intimidator, or even Jeff Gordon for that matter, going back and forth trying to force the 193 into a mistake, or maybe the car get a tad bit looser, upset there from the aerodynamics, and that was interesting to see what he was doing there with Brandon Hawken. But now Hawken dives to the bottom there in the number 99 machine as he takes over the top spot there from the 193 of Ricky Johnson. Johnson going to try back down to the inside high-low switch maneuver off of turn number 2.
Well, and let's see what happens here. Who's going to get the draft off the corner? KJ is going to tuck in behind Johnson, try to give him a little bit of momentum as they're side by side as they head into 3. Ricky Johnson now on the low side. He'll clear that 99, but will Hawken try the crossover with the momentum on the top side? Let's see. Johnson stays high, and Hawken looks like he's just going to ride right up to him, and like you said, he's going to put that Intimidator button on that I guess we'll talk about. It's kind of hard to think about, there's all this talk about, aero tight and not being in somebody's dirty air and all that. Well, here, at least in NR 2003, the dirty air is so minimal if, it's not even there. So you kind of can intimidate somebody, and I'll tell you what, it can be, it's not a pretty sight when somebody's right in your mirror just daring you to make a mistake.
Yeah, and Hawken right there, knocking on the door. He's not quite as close as he once was there. Looks like the 029 machine going way down to the bottom kilojoules out of line there. Trying to try something different, maybe break the draft, try to get somebody maybe to play a little bit of peekaboo down there, maybe to go with him. Maybe he was thinking Hawken maybe he'll peek out of line there and go by the 193 Ricky Johnson, but Johnson able to hold on to the top spot. 99 Hawkins still sitting there in that second spot. Third is Kilojoule in the 029 machine. Then you got Danny Hardy and the number 03 machine running in the fourth spot. And Denny Daniels still running in fifth. But Craddock is starting to come up too. The number 22 machine, look for Craddock to try to get around the 37 of Denny Daniels as Craddock keeps peeking down to the bottom.
And it looks like that's the move. If you're going to go to the inside, you try to climb all the way down and try to cut, the length that you have to go on this front straightaway down and just try to make a move. Craddock, it looks like it's going to work out for him. He'll shut the door, a little bit of a slide job, I guess, if you can call it, as Daniels had that momentum on the high side. He shuts the door on him, but we're going to have to slow that up once again as it looks like trouble on the back straightaway. One car is around here, and it looks like it might be the 21 Chevrolet, and indeed it is. Steve Looney loops it here and turn off the exit of corner number 2. Got a little bit loose, tried to save it, just about had it saved. I tell you what, man, he did a great job locking that thing down, and I think he just skid so long he actually blew the left side tires, and after that just didn't have much control over it. So the left side's going down, at least the left rear going down on that 21 Chevrolet as he goes around, but no contact and nobody else involved in this incident. So lap 65, it'll be the 4th Hanover Wrecker Service yellow flag of the evening. And I'll tell you what, at least in NR, you can get a good gauge on when tires are flat, and you can kind of see it right now on Steve Looney's car. He's trying to limp that thing around, not scratch up the fenders or anything, or, move the fenders too high, because we know that can be an issue, and just try to get it to pit road and get some fresh Goodyear Eagles on it.
Yeah, definitely going to have to come down there, and it's tough there for the number 21 machine. You don't want to be tore up. You don't want the fenders tore up. Steve Looney trying to nurse it around there. You can see it's flat there on number 21, so we'll see if he's going to make it down the pit road without any more damage or anything that happened to that number 21 machine. So we'll wait and see what Looney does, but everybody else coming down on pit road also to come to the aid of their pickers. I think you're going to see 4 tires here again. We're 34 laps from the finish, 35 laps from the finish here, Blake. And I don't think the gamble is worth it there for 2 tires right now.
No, I don't think it is either. You're going to have to go a full run, or at least very close to it. We'll restart with about 30 to go. So perhaps a little bit shorter than a full 25-lap run. Maybe you get a little bit shorter around 15 laps. So maybe the 2 tires, if you're a guy like, some of these guys that have just kind of been outside the top 10 and have never really sniffed being up front. Maybe guys like, Brian Wolf that we saw rebounding earlier. He has some speed in that Chevrolet. Maybe he would try a 2-tire strategy here, but it looks like nobody going to take the bait as Ricky Johnson going to exit off of pit road first with that first pit stall. And it looks like in unison in this field, all taking 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles during this pit stop.
In unison, like you said, taking 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. So those guys pretty much going to battle it out on brand new tires, and it'll be no differences there, no 2-tire calls. So got to thank everybody for tuning in here on YouTube. See a lot of chat box guys out there. See Jeff Brown from iRacing iFlag. He's made his way out there. You got to see Sam Perry that tie me up 911. That is Sam Perry. He is from BladeNote.com. Got to thank our sponsors out there that tune in. Brandon Hawkins, he's been texting and driving here earlier on in the going, so thank him for tuning in. Also got to thank BSR Texan for also tuning into the Full Velocity Racing Network, and definitely Bill Brines, who was out there. I think Blake got a hold of him and said thanks for tuning in out there. So again, guys, thanks for tuning in above YouTube, or even if you're watching this broadcast later on here in high def or anything out here on YouTube. Also got to thank Hanover Record Service, iRacing iFlag, of Oils Trucking, CCM Custom Designs and Engraving, Har Motorsports, TDR-Racing.net, and of course Trash Panda Graphics for the great sponsorships that we have here on the Full Velocity Racing Network.
Certainly want to give a shout out to everyone. Doesn't matter your color or stripe. We all appreciate your support and coming out here, viewing this broadcast, contributing to our viewership in the chat, and driving our numbers up. No matter where you are, we always appreciate it. We're always thankful for it. And of course, thankful for the opportunity for the Bomb Squad Racing League to have us out here. Not something that all of us may have seen a couple of years ago, but you know what? We want this community to stay. We want it to stay strong, and we're always willing to help broadcast and try to showcase the best that NR 2003 still has. Did a little bit of iRacing this week, had some decent racing, also had some bad racing, but I'll tell you what, these guys putting on a whale of a show tonight that can mirror any racing that's going on in the sim racing world right now, and showcasing why NR 2003 can still be effective and bringing people into the sim racing community. These guys are showcasing it right now tonight, that you can just roll up to the same California that we've had for 16 years and still put on one hell of a show.
Yeah, it's definitely a whale of a show here with these guys. The game going strong, a really old game, NASCAR 2003. We've done a lot of iRacing here as of late on the Full Velocity Racing Network, but we're still able to come back to our old stomping grounds and do some good racing over here in the NASCAR 2003 community. But a lot of great events coming up here on the Full Velocity Racing Network. We'll tell you a little bit more about them a little bit later on in the show here, as the lights are going to be extinguished atop the Full Velocity Racing Network pace car down the front straightaway. So we'll be up to full song here rather quickly. Like you said, Blake, about 30 laps to go when we get the green flag.
Certainly, and while we're talking about some of the racing going on, if you like what you're seeing here on the Full Velocity Racing Network, we'll have to remind you about our next event. You don't have to wait long. It's tomorrow night. DWRL Pro Late Models, the Shootout Series, and plenty of other things going on very early on in the week. We're booked Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So if you can't get enough
Thursday,
of FVRN and all the great content, well, guess what? We have more to bring you as we work into the beginning of the holiday season, Thanksgiving, and all that. It's going to be no shortage of busy work here at FVRN. And obviously, like you said, doing some iRacing, doing some NR 2003, really jack of all trades. I believe we'll come back to NR 2003 on Tuesday evening for the Hobo Championship 4 at the Homestead Miami Speedway. So plenty of great action still to go on here late in the season.
Yeah, definitely a lot of racing action going on, and I can't wait to tune into that one. Have to watch it via work. Got to thank Blake for stepping aboard there and helping Phil out there on those nights on Tuesday nights, because work schedule permits me to be at work at that time. So thank you, Blake, for getting involved in hobo racing. It's been a great season over there, and glad that I can actually tune in to work and watch it. It's been fantastic listening to you guys banter back and forth over there at Hobo as we're getting ready for the green flag once again here at the Bottom Squad Racing here. Christmas race, and one of the 4 Christmas race series here, as the iRacing iFlag green flag is out. The 193 of Ricky Johnson, Brandon Hawkins right now running in second, but he's trying to get that outside working, trying to maybe wrestle that lead away from the 193 of Ricky Johnson. Look at Brandon Hawkins go on the outside.
Hawken able to make the move work on the outside, but unfortunately trouble in turn number 2. Big wreck as several cars involved in this one. Furco is in the inside. Grass, Manny Diaz is around. Unfortunately, BSR DJ Champ can't avoid this one either. The first wreck that we've seen on a restart tonight. These guys, like we said earlier, it's loose. They're handling cold tires and all that. It's been nice that they've been able to make it this long without experiencing some trouble, but it looks like a couple of cars in the rear of this field not able to make it work this time around. The first wreck that we've had on a restart, it'll be our 5th Hanover Wrecker Service caution flag of the evening.
Yeah, you're going to see DJ Champ in the number 4 machine involved in this one as he drifts way up the track into the number 91 machine. Getting involved, looked like you said, Manny Diaz in the 711 involved into the outside wall. The number 19 going for a spin down to the bottom. Not a lot of damage to that number 19 machine. More worse for the wear. The 710 of Manny Diaz and that number 91 machine. 91 of DJ Champ going for a ride over there. Hit the wall just a little bit, but 710 pancaked the wall on the outside. So those guys involved. The 4 able to keep it going too. They're going to have a lot of flat spotted tires out there, but damage going to be to the number 91 machine and the 710 of Manny Diaz.
A little bit of damage there for a couple of our competitors. Again, 5th caution flag of the evening here, lap 71 of 100. Are there people still willing to pit at this juncture? Wow, Todd, I'm looking at these guys. Look how many decided to come down pit road, not after, a 4-lap run, a 5-lap run. We made it through turns 1 and 2, and this is how many guys are going to come on to pit road. I would not be surprised at all to see some type of 2-tire call here, or maybe even no tires at all. Guys are just looking to top off and try to make it to the end on fuel. And let's see indeed what happens. It looks like that is the call for a couple of drivers stop and go, some electing to take 2, even some like Brandon Hawken electing to take all 4 tires. And unfortunately for Hawken, he's going to lose about 7 or 8 spots here on pit road trying to take 4 tires. But we looked at the laps that are remaining, lap 72 of 100 that we're on now. So 29 laps to go, including this one that we're on now. You have to think about it. We went about 26 laps on that last run, that green flag run. So guys starting to think that fuel mileage will be a part of it. And I think you can see that now as there's plenty of cars doing the NR 2003 dip on the back straightaway that signifies that they're clutching right now.
Yeah, the number 22 of Craddock, and you got the 103 machine of Nelly. Those guys electing to stay out as those other guys went down onto pit road, and they've been clutching it down in the back straightaway. The 21 of Steve Looney also staying out there. So Looney definitely a guy that can benefit from this type of a reaction here. So we'll see if these guys actually take off down onto pit road or if they're going to actually stay out there, Blake. Looks like the 103 of Nelly going to come down to pit road. The 21 of Steve Looney also down on the pit road. They're going to get their, I believe this should be their final stop. They're going to probably be on the outskirts of that, but we'll see if that's going to indeed be their final stop. But Craddock staying out in the 22 machine, that's an interesting call.
It is. He's going to have the track position, but may not make it on fuel. And it looks like Brandon Hawken, after losing all that track position, he's going to figure, well, why not? I'm just going to come down and top it off a lap after these guys. Anyway, when you have the fuel mileage window so close to where we're running now, even like people don't really think about it, but going an entire lap around under caution at a 2-mile racetrack, you're still going to run out, maybe a couple tenths of a gallon or something, but you just never know when that's going to come into play. Obviously, Ricky Johnson on that first one, he wishes that he would have saved, just a little bit more on that first run, but it ended up costing him a ton of time. And obviously, these guys that came down pit road, they thought, well, I'm already in the back. Why not go ahead and top off and maybe gain a little bit of an advantage over some of my competitors?
Yeah, and why not? Why not? Brandon Hawken probably will come down to pit road one more time and fill up with fuel, I would think, because he's down towards the back of the pack. So he definitely has the upper hand if it stays maybe green flag racing, because these guys definitely going to probably have to clutch their Blake, as they won't be able to make it, I don't think. it's going to be rather close for these guys. As you said, they were running out some of them on lap 26 last time.
Well, Johnson was who led the event. Some of the other guys, they didn't really struggle to get that far. So, again, we'll just have to see let's see how many cars are going to go to pit road now. Well, everybody is. That tells you how important it is. Now let's see if Hawken or any of those guys, they're going to stay out. Who does? Steve Looney. He's the only one other than Craddock that's staying out. My goodness. Then you have Furco, who's making his way up front. So how about that, Todd? Every single driver knows how important fuel is right now, and they decided to just come by and top off on that final lap. But guys like Steve Looney, they'll take it. He was running outside the top 10. He's going to restart in the top 5.
Oh,
I love this call.
On pit road. Contact on pit road. Danny Hardy around in the 03 machine. Those guys exchanging and coming out of the pit stall. Danny Hardy around on pit road. I believe it was also the number 99 might have got a piece of that one.
He did.
The 99 coming down. It looked like he was coming in, and he collects Danny Hardy, but that was because the 22 of Craddock got into the back of him. Danny Hardy going backwards there across the stripe there on pit road, able to keep it going, though. But tough break for those drivers. I don't think they got a lot of damage out of that, but it definitely put Danny Hardy towards the back of that one.
No, that's just a track position loss for most of those guys. That was just an unfortunate circumstance because Brandon Hawken, he has that second pit stall, but because he was in the back of the field, he was coming in, and most of these guys, they were just doing a stop and go. So by the time Hawken is entering his pit stall from, the 12th or 13th position, other guys are exiting their pit stall. So that was just an unfortunate circumstance, but I just love the strategy here by some of these guys. How about this? Brian Voyle, big damage. Guess what? He's going to take the lead here on lap 75 as the iRacingIFlag.com going to be displayed over a jumbled up field after a little bit of strategy. Voiles is going to spin the tires a little bit. They're going to make it 3 wide as they head into 1. Voiles is going to drop back. It's going to be Furco and Looney battling for the lead in 1.
Yeah, Furco and Looney as Voiles drops back as spinning the tires cost him quite a bit. Here comes the 37 of Danny Daniels. He gets loose and out of shape there. He saves it. Oh, somebody else around. Oh, again, contact. Big wreck down the back straightaway.
There's a couple of spins as the caution flag comes out once again. And again, that shows you what these guys are working with. Cold tires can be the death of some of these cars. And it looked like it was Furco where it kind of all started here off of turn 2. He was in the middle. He got a little bit loose. He about had it saved. So Rick Craddock checked up for him. Denny Daniels didn't see him, so they get involved, and then there's more wrecking in the back of the pack as they try to avoid this accident. It looks like Danny Hardy was put in the outside wall by Nelly, who was trying to slow up for that wreck. So, wow, Todd, things can change here in a hurry. We've seen a lot of green flag racing, and unfortunately, these guys with kind of the shaking up strategies, looks like it's starting to wreak havoc on this field.
And then we talk about a guy that had some bad luck on pit road, Danny Hardy. And a lot of times what happens is you get up into somebody else's mess, especially if you've been running up in the top 5. And unfortunately, that's what happened to Danny Hardy towards the back. And I know that feeling because I've been towards the back and nowhere to go. Unfortunately, slammed into the outside wall. He was able to keep it going, but some damage to the right side of that 03 Hardy's machine. So Danny Hardy, again, the bad luck continues after pit road.
It does continue, but one guy that looks awfully smart right now, he's clutching because he didn't top off that last time up, but he has the lead and he'll have control of the next restart. That's Steve Looney, who, as we mentioned before, had that spin off of turn number 2, struggled a little bit with the handling of that race car, but it looks mighty good in clean air, and he's going to appreciate now after spinning that he's going to resume the lead and try to hang on, but also he has to worry about saving a little bit more fuel than the rest of these guys, as a lot of these guys electing to stay out, but then you have probably about 4 or 5 cars, maybe 6 on pit road. Brandon Hawkins on pit road. He was already in the back of the field, so why not? Hardy has to repair a little bit of damage. Danny Daniels is in, Rick Craddock, Nelly, Manny Diaz, and Silver Bullet. So a couple of guys, they want some fresher tires. And you know what? If you're running in the back of this field, 15th, 16th or so, not really going to lose any spots. Why not just, come get some fresher tires?
Yeah, definitely come down and get those fresh tires. They may be only half a lap old or a lap old, but new tires are new tires, and they might be different. They might be them special match tires that they always talk about, and maybe propel you to a race win here on the Full Velocity Racing Network. Again, got to say hello, Bill Bryan's out there. He says 3 watching from Sydney, Australia. Temperature 95 degrees, Blake. 95.
95. That's a heck of a temperature in late November, which you think about it, it felt like summer for a good portion here. Even in early November, we were experiencing highs of 70s and 80s and whatnot. It just very recently decided to get all cold and crabby and windy and just not very fun weather. At least for me, I'd rather it be 120 every day than be 20 every day. That's just the type of person I am.
Yeah, definitely a lot more easy to regulate heat. Definitely different. I'd rather have my AC going to there, Blake, or even a fan for that matter. Something going on. Well, I'm lower than you, Jack. You say 25. Looking at my phone right now, we're sitting at 15. So again, lovely upstate New York. We won't get too much into that. They say New Yorkers or even upstate New York, it's your own fault for living in New York. But I tell you, when you want to get out, you can't because you have no money to spend because it's taxed all the heck up here.
Oh man, gonna maybe start a political discussion. That's how we'll get the folks all riled up more than they already are tonight on FVRN. But can't really argue with you there. But it's not too boiling right now in Boiling Springs, 45 degrees. Which honestly, with the weather we've had lately, I'll take that. That's not too bad at all. Kind of more towards Raleigh area, it's down to 41, so I'll kind of take it a little bit today. We had some football today. It was a nice, crisp, mid 40s. Not too bad, not too cold, but not not exactly sunny and 60 either.
Good golfing weather.
Yeah, there you go. Good weather to watch some football. Very into football season, beginning of basketball season. Which, speaking of which, got to go to Chapel Hill last night and watch some Gardner Webb and North Carolina basketball, which was pretty fun. I had a good time there. North Carolina beat Gardner Webb, but I still thought we played pretty well.
Yeah, it's North Carolina. I'm a big, obviously, from being upstate New York, Syracuse fan. So joining the ACC, playing, getting to watch that. Yeah, everybody boos me. Ooh, I like the Orangemen, especially when we were in the Big East. Not so much of a fan of the ACC because we definitely
because you lose in it.
Yeah, we definitely can't win as much.
Oh, it's all right. We were 26.5 point underdogs, and we were basically down by 10 the whole game. So can't really complain about that. I was very proud when the Dean Dome erupted when Carolina went on a run and they were only up 5. That was actually a pretty proud moment for me, even though everybody was obviously cheering against my running Bulldogs. But nevertheless, enough talk about college basketball. We're ready to get the last couple of laps of this thing over and done with. The first race of the Bomb Squad Racing Christmas Series here at the California Speedway. A couple of drivers have already called it an evening. Our BSR Steven and Keith McLean are the only two who have retired. The 510 obviously had that engine failure, and Keith McLean was involved in a wreck early on, got some laps down. I think he just decided to call it a night, but still a lot to be decided. All 18 cars that are on track remain on the lead lap, and we'll restart with 21 laps to go. We'll restart on lap 80 of 100 for those of you who cannot view our ticker because of some technical issues. It looks like Phil took over our chat for just a second, said go heels and Q sucks, and well, I can agree with about half of that statement, but nevertheless, Steve Looney, how about it? Worked his way up to the front of the field with some strategy. He'll try to hold off some hungry drivers right behind him. Ricky Johnson, Chevy Chase, and Brian Voyle starting in the top 4. The iRacingIFlag.com green flag going to be shown to that 21 Chevrolet. The green flag is out, and they're side by side at the stripe. And Ricky Johnson get a little bit of a bump there from Chevy Chase as they head into 1.
Yeah, Chevy Chase down to the bottom there in that number 096 machine. It's a 21 of Steve Looney drifts way up the track. Here comes the old 29 of KJ Kilojoules down to the bottom here, battling it out. It looks like with the number 49 machine. But that is BSR Brain Fade up to the top shelf of the speedway. Look at Brian Wolf go. The number 29, where did he come from? And the 6-spot Looney gets loose. And the number 21 able to save it, though. Great save by Steve Looney right there in front of BSR Brain Fade.
You were just talking about a little bit of warp, but how about it? The move from Brian Wolf, who all of a sudden finds himself in the top 5. A tumultuous 90 got into the back of Brian Boyles, has a little bit of connection issues, and even didn't qualify, didn't pull a time, and Wolf started to make his way forward in this field. It looks like Looney just a little bit loose on those, I wouldn't call them older tires, but just trying to get those tires underneath him. But he might not be able to do it for a while. There's a spinner off of turn 2 that has brought out the caution flag once again, and it looks like it is very far in the back of this pack. I believe it was the number 4 Grizzly Chevrolet of Silver Bullet that looks like a selfie that does no harm to anyone else, but will nevertheless warrant the caution flag being displayed.
Yeah, definitely going around 360 for the number 4 machine. Silver Bullet able to keep it going. No other contact out there in the speedway, so Silver Bullet going to be relegated to the rear, unfortunately. You're going to have to try to gather it back up, maybe get back a couple of spots that he lost. We're on lap 82 of 100. 18 laps remain of this race, and it's been a fantastic race here at the California Speedway here. The Bomb Squad Racing Christmas Series race number 1 of 4. The next race going to be at Daytona, and that will be on December 7th. So if you want to get involved, please do get involved with these guys. Man, a great group of guys over here.
Certainly welcoming all drivers from all different stripes to come over and race over here at Bomb Squad Racing, as these guys looking to put on a special winter series. You think, well, we start to get in the winter, the Cup Series is just about over, so all the local tracks are gone, and, a lot of these real-life drivers still trying to keep fresh. Well, no better way to do it than to hop on over here at NR 2003 and try to do some racing to try to stay fresh for the racing season, as Ricky Johnson will lead an entire pack of cars, all but Rick Craddock, onto pit road here with now 18 laps to go. Lap 83 of 100. We only ran about 2 laps there on that run, but looks like some people are going to come down here on pit road. Nevertheless, I believe, or at least I would not be surprised if we saw a couple of 2-tire calls. Let's see who does it. First off of pit road, once again, Steve Looney. Looks like he took 2 tires. Going to be another taker in Denny Daniels. And I believe Danny Hardy going to make the pass as well, as Ricky Johnson comes out of pit road 4th after taking 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. So 3 guys decided to take the gamble this time, along with Rick Craddock, who stayed out and will not come down pit road, I believe. So that's the one thing, Todd, that we had a lot of green flag racing. We get to see who has a really strong car, but then you get these yellows, you get strategies all mixed up. There's really just no way to predict what's going to happen. We could have more yellows. We could have one green flag run here to the end that would probably hurt Craddock and Looney. You just never know.
Yeah, never know how your strategy is going to play either. You look at Craddock, who stayed out in the 22 machine. He's been fast pretty much all evening long inside the top 10. You got Steve Looney, who had a little bit of trouble last time. Looney got a little bit loose, had to go in and get some tires, and he elected to only take 2 tires. The 37 of Denny Daniels, he's been fast inside the top 5 in the number 37 machine. He's currently running in the 3rd spot out there, so we'll see if he's going to be able to hang on and able to do anything on 2 tires. Then you go back to Danny Hardy, 2 tires. Had to get himself back away from the back of the pack. Strategy to get him back up towards the front. We'll see how Danny Hardy does, and then the first car with 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, the Voiles Trucking number 193 machine, Ricky Johnson, who's been indeed the class of the field here all night.
He certainly has, and I think I got to like the position that Ricky Johnson is in. He's had a ton of speed on that Ford all night long, as well as Brandon Hawken you put 4 fresh tires on it, and I think if we go green long enough that even somebody like Hardy that's been running in the top 5 all night long just may not be able to keep up with it over a long run. But again, that's why we run the race over here. We want to give you a little bit of an update on some of the other racing going on in the NR 2003 community. Obviously, one league that is running at this time, and hopefully a lot of the drivers from that league will come out and join the December 7th race at Daytona here at Bomb Squad Racing. TDR, the Premier Cup Series Scramble Championship being run tonight at the Homestead Miami Speedway. The 2 final remaining drivers, Robert Bauckham and I believe I was about to say Brandon Hawkin. That's not right. It's Matt Watkins, both running 3rd and 4th in that race respectively, and obviously battling for a championship. So a little bit of more NR 2003 racing going on than what's just over here at BSR, but obviously we want to support all types of racing and hope that, a lot of those guys running at TDR who have, had a great season over there want to come over here and maybe join these guys in a couple of weeks and, really make it kind of a big field and probably a bigger show, Todd.
Yeah, definitely. December 7th going to be that race at DaytonaTR. Definitely, that's when you see people come out of the woodwork, especially Daytona, restricted plate tracks where everybody thinks they have the best chance to win. Like I said, open setup. The lights are now extinguished atop the Full Velocity Racing Network pace car as they're pulling down here. So hopefully we're on lap 85 of 100. So 15 laps remaining. This race is going to be 14 at the line when we get that iRacing iFlag green flag. Let's do a little bit of picks here, Blake. It's late in the going here. We want to hear what you guys have for your picks. Who do you think's going to win? We want to hear everybody pick somebody out there, but I'm going to let Blake pick somebody first because NASCAR 2003, his style. Blake, who do you think's got enough to win this one here tonight? I think so. Oh, Blake falling out here at the last minute. So definitely falling out of his chair, doing whatever he did. There, Blake McCandless was hoping we'd be able to get a word from him to see what he was going to be able to pick. Hopefully, he'll be back joining us here in just a few moments. And the 22 of Rich Craddock. Then you got the 21 machine of Steve Looney. The iRacing iFlag, green flag getting ready to come out. Jack Truan picks the number 99. I'm going to go with the number 193 of Ricky Johnson. Blake will have to pick out of everybody else. He can't pick the field, though, obviously. Hopefully he'll make it back in time. As the iRacing iFlag, green flag is out, and a lot of tires being spun here on this restart of this race as these guys motoring off down into turn number 1. Craddock way down to the bottom side there. And then number 22 machine, the 21 of Steve Looney. Right now your race leader, but they're almost going 3 wide for the race lead. But Craddock now slides up in front of Looney. Looney gets out of shape just a tad bit. 4 wide. That's not good over there as those guys able to gather back up. But I thought that was going to be a nasty one off of turn number 2. As they work their way down into turn number 3, the number 21 of Steve Looney has drifted back just a tad bit there as the 99 machine of Brandon Hawkin, your race leader, second right now, the 22 of Rick Craddock, and here comes the 193 machine of Ricky Johnson down to the bottom. The Voiles Trucking, number 193, looking over the 22 of Craddock. Craddock stayed out last time by. No match for the 193. The Voiles Trucking 193 of Ricky Johnson as he slams the door and moves into that second spot.
And Johnson able to move up. Apologize for the technical difficulty. The internet went out, but you know what? It's 2019. I can just turn a hotspot on my phone and still broadcast from there. It's a wonderful world that we live in. So let's go ahead and join back. It looks like Danny Hardy running. He'll actually make that pass by Looney, and it looks like Hardy going to move up to 6, but they're starting to get really racy up here for the third spot between Daniels and Craddock, as well as you have that Johnson and Hawkin battle starting to brew, but Daniels really looking to make something happen with this 22 car that stayed out on old tires and is trying to make a move. We'll see what the draft does for him down the back straightaway. It's like he's not going to be able to pull alongside here.
No, not able to pull alongside here, Blake. We started talking about it there before you left. before you gracefully left there to go catch a vendor or whatever you wanted to do there. But we picked our picks here. We tried to get YouTube to pick. Nobody else picked, but Phil did say Brandon Hawken. So did Jack, and I said the 193 of Ricky Johnson. What would your pick to be to win this race here tonight with 10 to go coming up?
You know what? I'm going to just throw it out there in the wind. Danny Hardy, he's running 6 right now. I'm just going to say he's back there saving his stuff, letting these guys run all their stuff off. He's going to merge out of the chaos and just come up here and win this race. So I'm going with Danny Hardy.
All right, so we got Brandon Hawken. We got 2 Brandon Hawkins. We got Ricky Johnson and Danny Hardy. We're going to shout out there to YouTube. And guys, we know you're out there watching. Who you guys got here? Who you rooting on? Who you want to win this race here? As we're under 10 to go here for the number 99 of Brandon Hawkins. Second is the 193 Ricky Johnson. Rick Craddock running in that 3rd spot. 4th would be the 029 of Kilojoules. Then you got the 37 of Denny Daniels in the 03 machine. Running in the 6th spot, that is Danny Hardy.
And Hardy trying to do all he can right there. 4 fresh tires that he took on that last stop, and it looks like he's going to be able to make a move here as Daniels hard into the outside wall off of 4. He got super tight. Those old tires starting to really show their wear here on that 37 Toyota. And it looks like Hardy going to be able to make easy work of him as he takes all that momentum into turn 1, and he'll clear Daniels, not able to get a run off the corner. Hardy's going to have to try really hard, though, to catch these guys. He might be helped, though. KJ Kilojoules up ahead of him. He's trying to make him move low for 3rd.
And Kilojoules dives down to the bottom there, Craddock. And the number 22 machine is Kilojoules. Looks like he's going to slide up in front of the number 22 and wrestle that 3rd spot away, but the 22 says not so fast. Down to the bottom goes Craddock, making a side-by-side here across the start-finish line.
Side by side, but it looks like KJ going to be able to completely clear that 22 with all that draft he got down the straightaway. So move KJ up there. It's probably one guy I should have mentioned in picking. He can definitely come up here, have saved his stuff, and have a fast enough Corvette to go up there and win this race. He's definitely no slouch as we're on lap 92 of 100. We'll approach lap 93 off of 4 this time by, and it looks like our top 3 really starting to shape up now. Hawken, Johnson, and KJ here at California.
Yeah, things definitely starting to shape up. I've been watching a battle there with Brian Wolf and the 103 of Nelly. That's a good battle going on for the 8th and 9th position. So those guys having good runs. But again, meanwhile, up front, trying to stick with the battle as the laps keep winding down here. The 99 of Brandon Hawken, about a 5-car length advantage there. It comes down to about 3 car lengths there for the 193 of Ricky Johnson. But Kilojoules really reeling in the Johnson machine. We'll see what Killa's going to be able to do there in that 029 machine as we come up here. 94 laps of 100 complete here at California Speedway.
On lap 94, 1 car is on pit road. That's a 710 of Manny Diaz, who is running in the 18th position, so he'll take some fresh tires on that machine. But nevertheless, we'll look forward and out front with 7 laps to go. Brandon Hawken, Johnson, and KJ still pacing this field. KJ starting to make up some time, though, trying to use that draft, and this is where it's a really tough spot if you're Brandon Hawken, as there's now 6 to go as we cross the stripe. You can try and save, or you can try to run really hard. Or if you're Hawken, you can run really hard, and you're probably still running about the same speed as Johnson, who with that draft, he can save his tires a little bit more. But also you have to think, this is NR 2003. These are long cautions. This race will end under yellow if we get to that point. So Hawken would be in the catbird seat if nobody else is able to get around him by about lap 97 or 98. A yellow flag would end it and give him the win.
Yeah, and that's something you got to really keep in the back of your mind. The 99 of Brandon Hawken able to strengthen that gap just a little bit as they enter the front straightaway here, flashing by that start-finish line. About 5 car lengths, but here comes KJ Kilojoules down to the bottom. That is going to be a battle for the 2nd spot as Kilojoules and the 193 machine, Ricky Johnson, goes side by side off the corner, slamming the door shut and taking over 2nd is Kilojoules. We'll see what he has now for the driver of the number 99, Brandon Hawken.
And I'll tell you what, that is the last thing that Hawken wanted to see. Hawken wanted these guys to be dooring each other, racing side by side, slowing each other down, and then Hawken could kind of control the race, decide to give who he would give draft to. That is not what he wanted to see. KJ getting around Ricky Johnson so easily now with 4 laps to go as we cross the stripe. KJ in a prime position now to try and go up, run these guys down, and there's just not much Hawken can do about it. We might start to see Hawken start to make a little bit of the snake maneuver that you would see in an Indy car or so, because that draft is just so important. KJ making up all that time here. Going to arc it down through 3 and 4, going to get a good exit, and I tell you what, he's going to be right on that 99 car as we enter turn 1.
Yeah, and this time by, we're going to have lap number 97 complete, lap 98 going up on the board. So these guys are really fighting it out there. And I keep watching the 029, and I thought there was something messed up with my screen, but the color keeps changing on that car. That's magnificent. It reminds me of one of the color-changing cars from Hot Wheels. There is it goes from
I saw that too.
Orange,
so it's
orange
not
to
just,
blue.
Not just
yeah.
you.
Yeah. I was like, what the heck? But it's awesome. That's pretty cool looking. Color change car.
I like it. The numbers kind of going from blue to orange. Maybe Jack's not seeing it, but maybe he is. I don't know. Hopefully the fans out there are seeing it as well. But nevertheless, we're going to approach 2 laps to go, lap 99 on the board, and the driver of that 99 looking to try and separate himself from KJ Kilojoules, 2 of the best in the business, trying to get it done as they go off of 2. Actually, a nice run there from Hawken. He's able to gap KJ, but KJ able to use that draft to get all the way back to him in 3 and 4.
As they dive down into turn number 3, the 029 of Kilojoules trying to gather it back in, trying to track down the 99 of Brandon Hawken as they come off of turn number 4 down the front straightaway. White Silk in the air. One more trip around the California Speedway. Who will be the first winner here? The Bomb Squad Racing Christmas Series here at California Speedway. Kilojoules is starting to close that gap again.
KJ trying to get a good run off of 2 for the final time this even. Brandon Hawken off the exit of turn number 2. Is he going to swerve? He's just going to keep it right on the wall, stay cool and calm under pressure as they dive it into 3 and 4. One last chance for KJ. KJ gasses it up mid-corner, gets a little tight, and it's not going to be enough. Brandon Hawken, he's going to win the first race of the BSR Christmas Series as he takes the checkered flag here at Bomb Squad Racing. And what a drive there from Brandon Hawken. It looked like the door was open those last couple of laps for KJ to really make a run at this 99 car, and he's able to get it done when it matters. That red Chevrolet going to get it done and do some burnouts here on FVRN.
Yeah, definitely well-deserved burnouts there for the number 99 machine of Brandon Hawken, your race winner here tonight at California. Second going to go to Kilojoules. Ricky Johnson for 3 there in the 193. Rick Craddock going to come home after the gamble there. And that number 22 going to finish up 4th. 5th is going to be Danny Hardy aboard the 03 machine. Then you got Denny Daniels aboard the number 37 and rolling off and finishing off position number 6. 7th going to go to the 096 machine, a BSR Chevy Chase. Then you got Netley finishing up 8th there in the 103 machine. Then you got BSR Furco in the 19 finishing up 9th. 10th going to go to BSR DJ Champ. Brian Wolf going to finish up 11th there in the number 29. Then you got Brian Voiles finishing up 12th in the 68. Terry Scott in the 66 finishing up 13th. 14th going to be BSR Brain Fade. There in the number 49 machine. Steve Looney finishing up 15th. 16th going to be Silver Bullet. 17th going to be BSR Magoo in the 144 machine. Then you have Manny Diaz 2 laps down in 18th. BSR Steven 19th and Keith McLean 20th.
And that'll round out the field here for the first race of this Christmas series. And Brandon Hawken, looks like a bomb went off on the front straightaway here at Bomb Squad Racing. And that's the burnout that Brandon Hawken gives the fans here at the California Speedway as he takes down the win in this first of 4 races for this series. So congratulations to him. Stay tuned as we'll catch up with our top 3 drivers, Ricky Johnson, KJ, and Brandon Hawken here in just a moment as they continue to get out of their race cars. We'll pull them up here in just a couple of moments to talk to them, get their reactions on their races and all the fun that we've had over here at BSR tonight. Let's see if we can't try and get some of these guys over here into the waiting room to try and talk to these guys. And I think we are ready to go already. And I think we're going to talk to Ricky Johnson first. Let's go ahead and pull him up here. Ricky Johnson, this is Blake McCandless at the FERN booth. You got a copy?
I copy.
Well, Ricky, you started on the pole. You had a lot of speed in that car, but it just seemed like some of those guys up front on that last run, they were just able to really rocket ahead of you. Just kind of talk about, that last part of this run and kind of what you saw there from those guys.
Well, I was kind of fighting a tight setup early on in the race, and I made it a little bit looser, so it transitioned better throughout the race. But at the end, of course, we're going to be pushing it as hard as we can, and they just had more in the tank than I did to push hard. I was kind of counting on a long green flag run to kind of just let it roll through, and that way I won't have to worry about it getting too loose off the corner. And my restarts were really good because of that also, and it just didn't work out that way. And that's just the animal of open setup, and this track is one of those tough ones with that as well.
Certainly is, but I think the one thing this track provides is a lot of parity, because if you can really hit on that setup, you guys, you just saw a lot of different guys running up front throughout the evening. Obviously, we know who had better speed than some other guys, but it just seemed like in that top 6 or 7, there was really any one of those guys you could have picked that would have had the speed to run up front.
Yeah, everybody did a really good job tonight. There were some guys that really brought it on and had some good showings. I know even at the end there was 5 of us that were able to stay within distance reach, and I give props to those guys for putting the time and effort in, and getting a good finish result from it as well, just as we have.
But all is not lost yet. You come home third, and you have to think this is a 4-race series, but kind of talk about you get the job done at California. Next up is Daytona, and Lord knows what can happen there with all the money they're starting to put on the line. What's kind of your approach here? We're going to have a couple of weeks off to think about it, but obviously in kind of a intense situation with the shortened schedule, what are you thinking about going to Daytona in a couple of weeks?
I mean, I'm just thinking about surviving. I mean, every time we go to a track like Daytona, there's always going to be something different that happens, and sometimes even if we approach it with the best mindset, it isn't always going to work out. So obviously my objective is to try to stay consistent and just put out the best finish I can, see if I can come home on top after all 4 races. And that's kind of the objective, is to stay consistent, not wreck the car, and hope for the best. And that's what I've been trying to do.
That's really all you can do. But Ricky, we'll go ahead and hand the mic over to you one more time. I'm sure you got, some fans out there, whether you're watching or whether you're streaming tonight like you typically do. Go ahead and give those fans of yours a shout out.
Yeah, I just want to thank you everyone for watching. Thank you guys for putting on the show. We had a good time. Thanks to everybody that came out there on the race, and I'm looking forward to 3 more good races. And thank you to Brian, Kathy, and PPR2 and all those great guys out there, for doing everything they do. I really appreciate their help, support, and I just love racing with these guys. These guys are a great crowd. Gotta get involved.
They certainly are, and y'all displayed that tonight. But he brings it home third. He brought it home on the pole. That's Ricky Johnson. Finishes up third tonight, and obviously will be a contender as we move forward here over the next couple of races. And actually, whoops, Todd, I didn't mean to move you out of here. I meant to move Rick. Oh my gosh, okay, there we go. You know what? I'm just gonna pull KJ up here, Todd. You get this, because obviously I can't get this figured out.
Nice job. Nice job.
Kicking me out of the booth already is Blake McCandless, but down here with the driver of the 029 kilojoules, having a fantastic race there. You're coming on strong towards the end of that one. Did you have anything left in the bank? A couple more laps? Could you have got around that Brandon Hawkins machine here tonight? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was a little worried with the setup. Didn't have any speed in practice. It was pretty slow for about 10 laps. I think I had the best car tonight on a long run. That one long run we had at the end, I kind of drove around everybody. It was just starting to come around where I could drive it. The last couple laps, I just ran out of time.
Yeah, it looked like you were starting to chase him down there towards the end of that one. A good amount of pit strategy going towards the end of that one. Some yellow flags plagued the end of that race, but again, the long green flag run, like you said, you were really quick in that machine. Tell us what the difference was, difference maker on maybe getting that set up to come alive a little bit earlier. Was there anything you could have done?
Yeah, I tightened it up a little bit for the shorter run, but I didn't want to overdo it, so I just didn't do it far enough. And when you got the clean air out there, it's kind of hard to pass them because you get aero tight because this track's so fast, and the apex of the corners you get tight anyway. Even when you're leading and when you're behind somebody, it gets even tighter. It's hard to get a run on the exit unless they mess up.
Now, the next time we come live here on the Full Velocity Racing Network, we're going to make our way to Daytona. A way different track. Things can happen in the blink of an eye over there. What's your type of strategy going into that race after finishing second here? You want to stay in the points, the top 5 in points, but what's your strategy play to go into a track like Daytona?
Honestly, I just want to finish. You'll probably have some people you don't normally see show up, and plate tracks are always crapshoots. And Daytona's a really tight one, so it's barely wide enough for 3 lanes. But I'm sure you'll see a lot of 3 wide racing. There's usually a big wreck, so I'll probably just stay at the back the first part of the race and just try to dodge the wrecks and make my way up to at the end.
Well, KJ, we got the microphone. We're going to hand it to you. We're going to let you thank anybody you'd like to thank out there that's been watching the broadcast here this evening.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys in both Full Velocity. That was a pretty good race. There was a lot of racing hard up front to lead there. Also want to thank Brian Voles and all the admins at DSR for putting this little mini series on and sponsoring all the prizes. PPR2, we did pretty good tonight. We had some bad luck for Keith and Danny, but Danny kind of recovered a little bit. It was a good race. Looking forward to next week.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, picking up second place here tonight. Driver of the 029 machine tonight. Definitely a neat-looking car out there. Kilojoules taking down second. I'm going to get ready here. We'll see if we can bring up Brandon Hawk in here for the driver of the number 99. So Blake, don't kick me out of the tower here. I believe Blake has caught up with our race winner.
User was moved out of your channel.
Well, Brandon, I see the red car that you're driving tonight, and how about I breathe some life into you? You're the winner tonight. How does that feel?
I like that reference, Blake. Yeah, man, that was an absolute blast. Yeah, I feel like we should run these types of tracks more often. I know, yeah, BSR does a lot of them, and man, it's so much fun, so much fun. And yeah, it was an amazing race, especially with Rick and KJ. That was an absolute battle, and yeah, what can I say, man? That was a lot of fun.
Oh, it certainly was. I looked on the schedule tonight and saw that it was, the original game track. Like, are you just one of those people that you see one of those original game tracks, tire temps are a little bit higher, are you just all about that stuff?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I look forward to like any time where there's a track with a lot of tire wear and low grip, especially low grip, because yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit better in those conditions. Um, but yeah, that was an absolute ball.
It certainly was, but also you had a lot of kind of things to overcome there. You saw that you were always taking 4 tires. You ended up starting in the back for a couple of those last few restarts, but eventually you just kind of found your way up front, and obviously just found a way to keep it there. Kind of talk about all the different strategy that's going on when you get all these late race yellows.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like when you get yellows near the end, it's really tough to decide what to do because you play it safe and guess there's like I don't know, like a long green flag run at the end, and you want to be all gassed up. Or if you think that there's going to be more yellows, you can stay out and hope for another yellow. But played it safe there, and I felt like I could probably drive back up front or like at least close to it. So yeah, I wanted to be really good on gas, and that there was a caution that came out. I think it might have been the third to last one, where we would have been good on gas, and other people might have had to save. So yeah, I just made sure I was good on gas, and yeah, it ended up working out in the end, even though it wasn't exactly a fuel mileage race.
All right, so you'll resume the points lead. You have a couple of weeks to wait before you go to Daytona. We've kind of asked everybody else that we've interviewed tonight. We'll go ahead and ask you the same. What are you thinking about Daytona when, this is a 4-race series, so you can't exactly afford to relax, but you also have to think about, you don't want to go there and wreck. You want to get some good points out of that now that you lead it.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Going into Daytona, it's always a like basically a you have to throw a bunch of names in a hat and pick one, and yeah, so it'll definitely be interesting, especially in a 4-race series, because one bad race and you might be out of it. So I'll try my best to be careful, but if there's a win potentially that could happen, I'm gonna go for it for sure.
No doubt about it, but I'll hand you the mic, Brandon, one more time. I'm sure you got a couple of fans out there who are all about your win tonight, so go ahead and give them a shout out.
Well, yeah, I'd like to thank everybody who's watching, you guys. I saw Phil. I guess he guessed that I would win, so that's pretty cool. Hey, Phil. And yeah, all my guys at PTR, Fast Racing, the guys at BSR for sorry. The guys at BSR for setting all this thing all up, and yeah, it was a really great race from everybody tonight, and looking forward to the next one.
Lots of green flag races tonight. Hopefully a sign of things to come. And that's your winner tonight, the driver of the number 99 red Chevrolet, who's able to best them all tonight at the California Speedway, Brandon Hawken, and we'll look to see him and the rest of these guys over here at BSR in a couple of weeks. Well, Todd, it was certainly a great race. We pretty much got through our interviews, and every single person kind of agrees. Fun race, lots of green flag racing, a lot of skill involved, and just seems like everybody came out here and had a good time tonight.
It's definitely everybody coming out having a good time here at Bomb Squad Racing. Got to thank those guys for allowing us to be a part of this on Full Velocity Racing Network. Again, cannot wait here to December 7th here with the second part of this series. So it's going to be a little bit of time there with our families here away from a Saturday night here. But definitely going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be a cool thing here coming up on Christmas, December 21st being the last race. So got to thank those guys, man, and got to thank all of our sponsors here at Full Velocity Racing Network.
No doubt about it. We got to thank all our sponsors. We got to thank Bomb Squad Racing for having us over here tonight. It was an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we'll get to do a little bit more over here at FERN. So for Jack Truin and Todd Stanton, I'm Blake McCandless saying so long from the California Speedway. Your winner tonight, Brandon Hawken. We'll see you back here soon. Good night, everybody.